premier stem cell researchers. Even with all of his administrative and teaching duties, John has maintained for more than 30 years his own NIH-funded research program, which studies the organization of central visual pathways. In recognition of his truly outstanding contributions to our academic missions, he has been recognized as the first medical alumni distinguished teaching professor. My compliments to the class of 2009 for your wisdom in selecting Dr. Harting to deliver what will be the last lecture you will receive as students at the UW School of Medicine and Public Health. Dr. Harting?
Thank you very much. I'm a little nervous, but as you know, I'll get over it. I asked Pat tomorrow, I said, am I going to have to stay behind that podium? And she said, well, that's how we usually do it. And I said, well, why don't we see if I can get one of these little things to follow me around so that the students will recognize me from when we were in class. And I used to be asking all kinds of questions. I haven't done that. And she said, well, that's more money. I said, well, so, come on, give me the mic, So anyway. So I was at your awards. Oh, by the way, remember when we were in class, people would start coughing at 20 the hour. Well, that's 20 minutes from now, and that's a bit too long. I said, how long do I have? And they said, well, whatever you think, but, C only has 10 minutes. And I thought, well, poor C's only got 10, and maybe I'll get 15. So, where's C? Yeah, he's here. Oh, okay. So I got 20 after, so maybe after 15 minutes. Could somebody cough? Give me that sign. All right. I went to your award ceremony yesterday, and it was incredible. Because I get to see everybody. Well, I got to tell you first. Last night we were having a family dinner, and we all bet on how many times I cried. And so the first person, I think my sister said 3, my brother-in-law said 4, my son said 5, I said 10. So there's one, right? So, but anyway, I saw everybody yesterday, so I wanted to see the whole class at that session. It's one of the highlights of my life to go and see everybody getting their awards from the 4th year to the 3rd year. And I ran into Teresa Colin, who's Anne's mom, and she's a good friend. They live a couple of streets from us, and she says, oh gosh, do you have is it all written? And, what are you going to say? And I said, well, I said, every day of my life, you're going to learn something different. Every day of your life as a resident, something's going to happen to you. And it's going to be memorable, it might hurt you, it might help you, but I could never write a commencement speech, 2 or 3 weeks ago. I had to wait till, in fact, I had a pretty traumatic experience yesterday. That doesn't count for 2, I didn't try. But, I was walking down Baskin Hill this morning, and I looked at the hill, and, we stay over in the medical school too much. It's so gorgeous, and a beautiful morning. I think about all my friends in the class, my family's in town. And it's too. And I thought, I'm going to put that in my talk. Because you're never really done with life. Every day is so different. And so what I did was, I made a few notes this morning. I went back to my office, made a few notes. And so I'm just going to tell you about a few things that have happened in my life that might be important as you go forward. But first of all, I want to thank the parents. All the parents who are here watching your kids in this glorious celebration. You're so proud of them, aren't you? You're so proud of your kids. Nothing like being a parent and the pride that you have in what they've done and that they're happy and they're going forward. And what I want to really thank you for is sharing them with me for all all these years, 4 years, I got to know your kids. I get coffee with them, I talk to them, and they're yours, and I tell them, make sure you go back and see your parents this weekend, because you don't know how much your parents love you. And they go, oh, my mom and dad, they don't care when I come home. I said, yeah, they do care when you come home. And it's important, and you share your kids with me, and I'll never forget you parents, and I'll never forget you students. I know that every one of the parents' heart is bursting with pride. I know from being a parent of my son, my heart bursts every time he's happy and successful. And it's the most important thing in my life. And so I think that's probably 3. So first I thank the parents because I love you parents for what you've given me, your kids' lives. It's very important. To the students, what can I say? I love you all. It's a very bittersweet time because you're leaving me, and I don't feel needed. And my wife Maureen knows that every year about this time I kind of go into a funk. The course is over. They don't need me. They needed me up to midnight. when I finally turned off my, I'm getting emails, people are worried, things like that. And so I go into a funk because I'm not going to see people again. I'm just lost. But then I kind of get on my bike and start pedaling again. And that's the theme of my talk today. I want to thank Dean Golden back here. Where is it, Bob? He has been so supportive of basic science departments. Times of fiscal constraint, you can see, basic science departments, especially heavily teaching departments that don't generate a lot of money. We could go under, but he has been extremely supportive. And I want to thank him. And Phil Farrell before him was supportive. Bud Brown, I've had lots of deans that I've worked with. They've all thought teaching was really important. And I want the parents to know that, and I hope the students know that. I also want to thank some of my colleagues around the table here that I sat in hundreds of meetings with. One of them is Rick Moss. You all know Rick, right? Let's hear it. And the reason Rick's important is that he was somebody I could go to and vent about problems. He's interested in teaching. He helps my department. He's kind of our sister department. And I want to say, you all know Bing Rickers, right? Let's hear it for Bing, because Bing is, I want to tell you that in 1996, the chair of the search committee of surgery was John K. Harting, and look what I found in Bing Rickers, all right? So I felt good about that. I wanted to introduce Bing. Okay, now, Bing, where's Bean? Beaner, where's Bean? Bean, what does commencement mean if you typed it into Yahoo or something like that? What's commencement? What's the definition of commencement, Bean? Well, does anybody know what commencement means if you look it up in Webster? It means a beginning, a start. This is all a beginning for you students. You're going out in your residency. I know you're probably a little worried. How much do you remember? Hardly any classes in the 4th year, right? So, you're saying, I don't remember a darn thing back there, I passed boards, and then I went through 3rd year. Now I haven't seen a patient in 3 months. I've been traveling to Ecuador and all the places. Yeah, I ran into people at Starbucks. Where you been? Oh, I've been to Ecuador. Well, are you still on Med 4? And then I say, you got to pay for the 4th year? Anyway, now I'd like to just briefly tell you about a few of my commencements, which means busy. And these will be important things. They're things out of my life that I hope help you. And I want to use as my theme a famous quote by Albert Einstein. He said, life is like a bicycle. You just have to keep moving. And you know what that means. You fall off, you get back on. You run into some kind of problem, you keep going. Life is like a bicycle. You keep moving. I'm going to tell you about my commencement from college. My commencement from college was a little school in the Midwest called Ohio Wesleyan University. It was the mating school of the Midwest. Now, you can take that any way you want, but remember, That was 1960s. You know, I mean, there really wasn't much going on in the 1960s. And when I went to college, I had gone to a public high school. And I went to kind of this preppy school. And everybody had on bat tweezers, khakis, and a blue blazer. And I showed up, you can imagine, Cincinnati public school. I don't know what I had on that day. But my mother says to me, John, she says, I'm so worried about you. I said, what are you worried about, Mom? These kids all have on their National Honor Society badges. And they got their blue blazers. Where are you going to fit in here? You weren't in National Honor Society. In fact, John, you're going to take the SATs twice. Oh, okay, Mom. But remember, I had to take it twice, and I was a legacy. You know, a legacy. You know, they let you in. My son got admitted to my college. He didn't even apply. He said, Dad, I'm 1 for 1. I said, okay, right. Anyway. And when I was there, it was back in the early 60s, and a B was a B. A B was a hard grade to get. How many of the parents remember a gentlemanly C? You know, a C, a gentlemanly C, you could get that. Now, you know, A's. Well, anyway, I hardly made it through Ohio Wesleyan, and that's the truth. And I ended up with a 2.7. 2.7, where will that get you now? It won't get you anywhere. My son wrote me when he went away to college. Dad, how'd you end up being the chair of the anatomy department? Yeah, right. And then I wrote it down, and I realized all the luck I had along the way, all the mentors I had along the way. Tremendous luck, twists and turns, and I ended up as chair of the anatomy department, getting the biggest honor of my life to get to speak to people who I love and I respect, and who are a heck of a lot smarter than I am, right? You know that. Well, anyway, so I'm at Ohio Wesleyan. I'm having a hard time. And I had a role model who was a dentist. So I thought, hey, being a dentist, you know, I could join the country club, I could do lots of stuff. So I took the dental aptitude test. I went down to Ohio State, took the dental aptitude test. I had a model, they had a model that you had to carve teeth out of. I broke it. And I thought, what's going to happen to me in my life, you know? You know what I did? I got back on my bike, and I kept pedaling. And I got out, I graduated from Ohio Wesleyan, not with grade, I went at 2.7. But back then at 2.7, you didn't have to, wherever you applied to graduate school, you didn't have to take the GREs. If I'd have had to take the GREs, remember I had to take the SATs twice. I wouldn't have gotten into graduate school if I had to take the GREs, but I had a 2.7 just, and I got in to Ohio State. But first I had to go see my mother in Hawaii. If I graduate from Ohio Wesleyan, I'm going to go see my mom and sister in Hawaii. And my aunt and uncle came to my graduation. I was counting on the airfare. Right? I had sold my blue blazer, my khakis, and my wages. I had bought those things, to try to keep up with everybody else. I had $106. And I thought they'd give me a nice little check. And I think it was like $10. They gave me $10. How am I going to get to Hawaii on $10? Right? So I'm in the middle of Delaware, and I stick out my thumb. Why? Because I got back on the darn bike. I knew I didn't have the airfare. I want to go see my mother. I want to see my sister, my brother. I got on my bike, and I kept pedaling, and I stuck this little thing out. Guy picks me up in a truck. I climb in. I had one suitcase. Guy picks me up. Where are you going? Hawaii? This is true. And wait a minute. You're driving along about 10 miles. Ain't you going to have to take a boat? But I made it. How did I end up as chair of anatomy? I was going to be a dentist. You know what happened? I went out to Colorado once for summer school. Physics. Ohio Wesleyan had a horrible physics. Everybody failed it. I didn't want to take physics. I wanted to go to Colorado. How many of you have been to Boulder? Think about that summer I had. Oh, man alive, Anyway, all those Southern belles coming up from Louisiana. For them, it was camp. It was camp. And for me, it was summer school. And then I'd be studying physics, and I went into a closed room. Classroom. Like the seats. Like where we met every day. You know what I did? I didn't study in that room. I started giving a lecture on the cell. The cell, it's got a membrane. I'm thinking, what am I doing here? What am I doing here? What's ahead of me? But why am I giving this lecture to an empty room? And I would do it every day. And then the other thing that happened was, I happened to be in a fraternity because everybody lived in a fraternity back in the 60s. It was a place to live. And the first year students, they asked me to give a talk to their dates on a big night, spring night. And I gave it, and it was really fun. I had never done it before. And my house mother came up to me and she said, you have a gift. She didn't tell me what the gift was. But she said, you have a gift. So these things are going around in my mind. What the heck? I'm not going to be a dentist. I can't carve a tooth. I got no money. I can't even get to Hawaii. But I like to give lectures in an empty room about the South. What's going to happen? I go down to Ohio State. No money, no nothing. I'm walking. This is true. Walking along the street, I saw a big building called Hamilton Hall. I went in it, and guess what floor I ended up on? The anatomy department. I know what the heck is anatomy? No, this is true. And then the guy comes up to me and says, what are you doing? I says, well, I'm going to go to grad school here. You want a TA shift? Do you believe that? No, this is the honest to goodness truth. Do you want a TA shift? Well, a TA shift, I had to work 15, 20 hours a week, but the other kids, they had RA shifts. So they were doing the research. I'm in there, teaching, cat anatomy. But I got through graduate school. I went, guess who was my speaker for my PhD? Bob Hope. He came in a big helicopter. Now, most of you kids aren't going to know the other guy, but the parents will. Spyro Agnew. That's the truth. That's the truth in my graduation. All right. So then I get my PhD. I still don't know what the heck I'm going to do. I go to Columbia in New York City. Can you imagine being in Columbia? You know what's on the streets in New York City? Huh? You know what's usually in the gutter? I usually stepped in it. I just didn't fit into New York City. I remember my mother coming and picking me up. And we went down to Duke, which was completely different. And I met a mentor. I had a mentor. I had applied for a job at Duke, a postdoc, and this mentor supported me because I had seen him give a talk in Chicago. And let me tell you about his talk. I'm sitting there waiting for this famous man to start his lecture, go to the podium. He stood up in the middle of the auditorium and started to talk in a conversational way. He didn't project out to us. He started to talk to us. And he walked up the aisle and back, and I thought, wow, that's a lot better than going up to the podium and saying, Mr. Chairman and stuff like that. So I learned a lot from him. Irv Diamond. Then I came in, but I also had a mentor in college, in the graduate school, who got me down to brass tacks. He looked after me. I was lost. He looked after me. He loves me. He loves me to this day. He'd be here if he could. But I had a great mentor. I would be not standing here without that great mentor. Mentors are so important. And I get to mentor some of you kids, and it's wonderful. It's wonderful. I went to the doctor the other day to have a physical exam, and one of your colleagues was my doctor. No, that's so wonderful to see. I have students whose parents went here. It's absolutely, I'm having a cataract operation. On Tuesday, one of my students is doing the cataract surgery. He looks after me now. It's wonderful. I've had my mentors come here for sabbaticals. It's wonderful to see it happen. One of them came here, he had Alzheimer's. He was completely lost. He came here for a sabbatical. But I loved him, and I appreciated what he had done for me in my life. And then I became the course chair and the chair and all this kind of stuff, which and I won't go through it all. Well, let me tell you, as I told Teresa Colin, The last chapter's not written until a day. And yesterday, we had this new course. I don't know how many of you, third, fourth years, we took a course that I had developed for 35 years and completely threw it down the drain. And then they say integrate it with head and neck. The last time I had head and neck? Well, it was back in 1967 or something like that. Well, I said to Karen, I said, Dad, Charles, what are we going to do? We have to integrate it. We're going to integrate it along the sections. So, we're not going to run parallel. We're going to integrate it along. So I started working. We all started working. We finally gave the exam yesterday. And you know what I'm used to with exams. You all did well, didn't you? The mean was 92, 93 back with you people. And then we gave this exam, which we had never given before, and I'm thinking, I told Dave and Alicia, and I said, they're going to get 100. They're going to get everything. No, they didn't. It was devastating. No. It's devastating. To see a student come out of an exam with tears in their eyes, and they're looking at you. I had only seen students come out of the exam saying, oh, you're a wonderful teacher, Dr. Harting. I got an A. No, they came out crying, and I feel guilty. But you know what we're going to do with that course? We're going to get back on our bikes and try to improve it. But that happened yesterday, and that really hurt me. But that's the point. Every day is different. You have to keep on your bike. So I'm about done. But I have a few things to say. One more. I want to thank my wife for putting up with me. I'd like to thank, Karen Krabenoff, Dad Schultz, Dave and Alicia. Van, you here? Van? You're here, aren't you? That's it for Van. You know what I did in when I go into Gross Lab? I just kind of tag along behind Dave, And then he'd do this.